What's up, y'all? Back with another video. Just out here enjoying the nice weather at the park. But this video right here is dedicated to all the guys who used to be in shape, but somewhere along the line, you start putting yourself on the back burner. You start putting your health on the back burner. I know guys come with a lot of stress. Are supposed to be the problem solver for not just yourself figuring that out in life, but for everybody else as well. Your kids, maybe your wife or girlfriend, maybe even your parents. Some of y'all might even be taking care of your parents at this point in your life, but nevertheless, you're supposed to be the provider, the protector, and basically the problem solver for everybody else's problems, including your own. You're supposed to be the mastermind. You're supposed to have the plan for everything, plan for everybody. You're supposed to know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And with that stress, it seems like everything's an emergency. This person's going to be late for this. You got to pick this person up at this. You got to schedule this. You got to make sure this flight lands on time so you could do this. And you got this later. You got to cut this short so you could do this. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on. A lot of times, nothing that even pertains to you or even your family directly, but we take on a lot of things and we start slowly over the years, declining in health because we're neglecting ourselves so much so that when your health does physically affect you, there's not really anybody else to blame but yourself. And then, when that happens, you can't provide for anybody else. You can't do anything for anybody else. And all of a sudden, all those emergencies start going away because now they see you as less capable. Or you're not as healthy as you used to be. You can't get around as much. So now all of a sudden, people don't have as much emergencies anymore because, they figure, oh, he's not capable. He's not of any use. When you could have been of more use, stop putting so much emphasis on stuff that's not really needed like that, because I know a lot of times people will make things seem like an emergency, and it's really not. It's just because they want, you're available, you say yes, and then they just keep slowly adding on and adding on and adding on to the point anytime you try to get some chance to relax. Some of y'all might even have like a man cave. You might have either whether you play any kind of collectible cards or video game, or you just chilling, watching TV, you picked up on a show you haven't watched in a while, and all of a sudden somebody needs something else. It's like you never get a moment just to sit down and chill without somebody needing something and acting like, there's something wrong with you. If you just say, nah, I'm gonna just chill right now, like you're just obligated to do everything for everybody else at all time. Yeah, sometimes you do have to, that's just part of being an adult. You have to put some stuff aside of what you want to have some stuff that you need done. I mean, that's just a part of life in general, but not everybody. We make a lot of other people's problems our problems. And it's like society expects that out of guys, most of the time. And so when that happens, you start, just eating whatever, because it's fast, it's quick. And it's just go to the next thing. And then you start feeling a little bit more sluggish. You start slowing down a little bit. You start gaining more weight. You start feeling less energy, on average. And they're going to tell you, oh, that's supposed to happen. You're getting older. Now you have a dad bod. Just think of the term dad bod. Like you're expected to have a dad bod just because you have kids. Like if anything, that should be more motivation for you to stay in shape so you can be there longer for your kids. And not only that, you teach them certain habits so they can grow up and won't even have to worry about certain effects or certain ailments in life because they learn those healthy habits from you, and you're increasing their lifespan just from you, being healthy. You teach them better habits, and it gets passed down. There's this thing I heard one time. Just like, oh, when people say stuff like heart failure, diabetes, and stuff like that, oh, this stuff runs in the family. And I said, no, that runs in the family because no one runs in your family. Everybody's sedentary. Everybody's, just on the standstill. You probably work it like in a cubicle or a place that you don't, move around as much. And you're thinking, well, when I was younger, I was more in shape and stuff. Because back when I was in school, this is before they gave us laptops to do homework and all of this stuff. We had lockers, or we had to carry books. We had to walk to, each class. And then when you went for lunch, you didn't have like big ass portions of food. I mean, it was enough, for the time being, but it wasn't just ridiculous portions, so you didn't eat as much, you moved around more, and then you're slick kind of like weight training, because especially going to the school that I went to, man, that biology book was heavy, it was thick as a motherfucker. It was like 1,000+ pages in that thing, and that's just one book. You had your social studies book, that was the U.S. history book, was big as hell. Even the literature book. A lot of times you couldn't even fit all the books for your classes for that day. That's why you had the lockers. You had to rotate them out because even the book bags you had couldn't even fit them. So you're walking around with extra weight. You're moving around a lot more, and then you're eating less portions. So of course, when you get older as an adult, and you start eating more portions, and you start moving around less, your metabolism is going to slow down. You're going to gain the weight. So of course you're going to look like you have a dad bod, or the excuse is, I just got older and that just comes with age. Nah, bullshit. This dude's 40, 50, 60 in better shape than me. And I don't even consider myself like a super elite. Like if I were to go on stage for bodybuilding or something, I'll still relatively kind of have like a long way to go as far as like natural bodybuilding. Still, much less the roid user bodybuilders. Like even the natural bodybuilders, I'll still have my work cut out for me. I'm not stage ready, and I'm not even saying you even have to get to the point where I'm at. I'm just saying just for relative, just staying in good health. But when you start back, getting on your grind, start back getting in shape, I know you probably hear stories like, oh man, I feel more confident. Oh man, they're not even talking about just confidence like in dating, just everyday life. As far as, wanting to take that risk to start a business. They venture out and probably do some things that were on their bucket list that they wanted to do, and they never checked off their bucket list, or they were too afraid to do. Now all of a sudden, because now you've proven to yourself that you can do it. Whenever you start taking back control of your health and you start being more consistent and stuff, that spills over into other areas of your life. Now all of a sudden, like you're not as afraid because you've made several commitments to yourself, over a period of time, that you can do something that you set out to do. And then you start challenging yourself in other things. Like, what else can I do? What else can I take this same ingenuity, this same energy, and apply it to something else? So now all of a sudden you start becoming more confident all around. Not even just in, like, you start becoming more confident, just talking to people in general about business. You start putting yourself out there more. You start being more comfortable talking to women. You start being more comfortable making other financial plans, like, what, I have a goal to do this, and I want to reach this amount of money, or pay this off, or do this by this time. You start setting goals, because whenever you start being consistent, you actually have some sort of a plan, like in the gym. It's very, very few times people just go into the gym and just do anything and don't really have a plan or any sense of direction and come out, with a good physique. You might make some improvements, but to make some really noticeable changes, you're going to have a plan. You're going to have to put stuff together. You're going to have a routine. And when you put yourself on the back burner, all of that stuff is out of whack. You don't have any kind of plan, any kind of routine set for yourself that's going to make any noticeable difference in your physique. And yeah, as you get older, you're going to have more responsibilities. You might have less time for yourself. You got other things that's going to be important to you, in life. But it doesn't mean you yourself have to be last on the totem pole as far as your health. Because if once your health goes, all those other responsibilities is going to be put on the back burner, I assure you. When your life is on the line, none of that other stuff matters. It doesn't matter who needs to be to school. It doesn't matter, what needs to, you can't pay your rent if you're dead. You fall over from a stroke, have a heart attack, or something like that. Landlord ain't gonna care. He just gonna look for another tenant. And whatever you owe, probably sometimes whatever you owe gets passed down to other people. So you're doing them a disservice. So take care of your health, guys. And don't let anyone, try to guilt trip or bullshit you about you taking a little bit of time for yourself to make sure you're in great health. Saying, oh, when are you going to be done? If you're trying to rush you taking 30 minutes to an hour to make sure, you can live a good, healthy life. It doesn't even take long a day, 30 minutes to an hour. Like, even for like your real older guys, 20 minutes, really all you need to do, let's just say if you're a beginner, just getting back in the groove of things, you don't even have to pick up any weights. You could do push-ups, sit-ups, leg raises, and squats. That's it. Do as many you can do in one go, maybe 2 sets of each. You don't even have to go super hard just to get back in the routine of things so you can eventually get up to a level to where you can go harder. But just starting off with something as simple as that, probably 20 minutes or less. You catch your breath in between each one and you just, give it what you got and then just be done. So if they're trying to rush you about, oh, when are you going to be done doing this? Either they can join you or you can tell them to fuck off until you finish. Either or. It'll be better if you had people who could join you. It just makes, you getting in shape just that much easier, because a lot of people, they say, oh, I need a gym partner or something like that. But if you got somebody in your corner that's always trying to make it hard for you, to take care of yourself, you might need to reconsider, being around that person for an extended period of time. But some of y'all might have a little bit more time just freed up. Your kids are probably going off to college, or they're a little bit older, so you don't have to pay as much close attention to them. Like, they're self-sufficient, they can go, get themselves something to eat or something like that, and you've got a little bit of time carved out, for you. They take advantage of it. Especially if you always on go and you always got, something going on, and you just got just a little bit of time, like I said, like 30 minutes or so. You might even be watching the show, and when a commercial break comes on, try to crank out as many push-ups as you can before the show comes back on in between those commercial breaks or whatever. Just go until the show comes back on. Next commercial break, you do another exercise as much as you can. Any way you can get it. It doesn't have to be the perfect routine or it's super optimized, because a lot of people just sit around and just gather a bunch of information but never actually do anything. But don't be that person. Take action. Try to carve out some time any which way you can. It doesn't matter if somebody thinks it's weird or not, but because when it comes down to it, you got to take care of yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. So that's all I got for you guys. If y'all need help training, if you don't know where to start, y'all can hit me up in the DM on my Instagram. I'm gonna have it in the description down below. And for you guys, if you want to get back into training, if you want to, get back into a decent physique, you want to get rid of that dad bod, that extra fat around your midsection, you don't want to look so soft, like, I actually get some cuts, actually get some results, and it's not anything crazy. I wasn't doing any military workouts, no boot camp stuff, regular natural food. There's no secret, and everybody's trying to sell you some kind of top secret stuff that works, like they just invented something new, because I'm pretty sure if that was the case, everybody and their grandmother would be taking it. They'll be the number one by far supplement, hands down, but there isn't. Natural food. So if y'all need some instruction, you need a meal plan, you need a workout plan, and you need somebody who's going to be checking for your consistency to make sure you stand on top of your game, hit me up in my DM on my Instagram. Let's get it.